Okay, welcome. We are going to take a look at a recently released game called Dungeons and Degenerate Gamblers. Now, don't worry, if you may have some gambling related thing, there is no real money used in this game, just whatever the initial purchase is. This game is based on blackjack. For anyone not familiar with blackjack, it's not an overcomplicated game. It's you're just taking cards off the deck, and you have to beat, which is normally the dealer, and the closest one to 21 or at 21 and not over would win. That's basically it. You just take one card at a time until you want to stop and not bust. There's a few more things to blackjack that actually aren't really in this. I won't go into them, but I'll just name them. There's like doubling down, pair splitting, insurance. Could have surrender, and there's like a 5-card rule sometimes, though I don't think that would work in this game. But basically, you are still kind of playing blackjack in this, but it differs in a lot. There's a lot of different cards. Most of the cards in the game have abilities or bonuses or something that does when you play it, and you have your little guy, and you're going on a journey, and you have hit points. So when you're playing, you are winning credits or in the game to use for other things, but you have hit points, and the difference in what you get during hands between your opponent, you would take damage if you're lower, and if you bust, you would take the full damage. So you're a little less likely wanting to bust in this than regular blackjack. And in this one, each player, yourself included, has their own deck, so it's kind of like everyone's cheating. But if everyone's cheating, I don't know. So part of the game is getting new cards to add to your deck and removing cards from your deck to increase its effectiveness. This game's kind of in a similar genre as another game released earlier this year called Balatro, which I really like. That's a poker-based one, and you're trying to accrue different jokers for combos and have a ever-increasing points you get. But going back to this one, it was released not too long ago, on the 8th. They already have a big update that just came out a few days ago with a fair amount of changes. So it's nice to see they're working on it, and it'd be nice to see what they come in the future. But also what I did see is it looked like they had a pretty early version online, which it's pretty simplified compared to the one that they just released. But you can go here and just try it out. And if you do like it, there it is. So what you're going to be doing in the game is you're actually kind of making runs, and you have kind of a path. You always start at the tavern, and then you either kind of choose to go one way, which is toward the lounge, VIP, head office, and hope, or you go down in the basement, in the casino, dungeon, and despair. And each area has different opponents, and then kind of like a little boss at the end. And there's also various events that you can run into, like slot machines or a little card guy who will adjust your cards for a price. And there is a special area at the end, but you can't just go to that right away. You're going to have to make some runs and do a few unlocks before you get there. Let's see. And then let's go into, maybe the strategies and the tips. I'll do a slightly different video for that, but let's just give you a look at what kind of the game looks like. And this is actually the first guy you're going to play when you start a game. He's the bartender in the tavern, and he doesn't have a lot of hit points. You can check all your opponent's deck, which is good because you can take a look at it before you start playing to kind of get an idea of what you want to do with some of your cards when you play them, what kind of cards they're in you want to focus on to maybe destroy or lock down or whatnot. But so basically, just like blackjack, you're going to take hits off of your deck and try not to go over 21, and they're going to do the same. And then when you get to where you want to do, you're going to stand, and the difference in points will be damaged. And if you do manage to get a blackjack, like I just stopped at an example here, that's when you can get bonuses as long as your opponent did not tie you with a blackjack. Now, I'm saying blackjack, not 21, because that number can change in the game. It could go down 20 or 22, depending if you or your opponent plays a card on each other. And if you do get a blackjack, you're going to get some bonuses depending on the suits that made up this blackjack. Like diamonds, you can see here, you'll get extra chip points that are here for spending during the game. Hearts are great. they're going to heal you because your health doesn't normally come back after each match. So you're going to have to, heal you as you go, because there's going to be a lot of matches you have to go through to get to the end of a run. Spades are not bad. Spades, they grant you shields. Now, shields you do not keep between opponents, so they're just for the current opponent. And then we have clubs. Clubs are good because they will increase the damage. So normally, if I did not have clubs here, I would just do the damage and the difference. But you see I have a couple clubs, so if I stand, I'm going to do a bunch of extra damage here, which we will see. And that just killed them. And then after you beat opponent, this is when you get your chance to add a card to your deck. And you'll usually get this choice here, and there'll be one that's not revealed unless you pay some chips. So you always want to keep a few chips on you. And then you can take a look and pick which one you like. And then after the bartender is when you get your dealer chip, which you will use to get advantage. During the game, there's some cards which have an exploit mechanic. You need to spend advantage every time when you use that. And then you'll get cards in your hand, which are really good because they just sit there and you can play them when you want. And of course, you'll need an advantage to play that unless it's a foil one. So yeah, here's an example. So I'm in the tavern. This is the next one. I can pick who I want to go against. A gambler is always fun. And away you go. And now that's kind of it. So I can show you there's a fair amount of cards already in the game. I'll do a separate video where you can kind of see. I'll go into them a little more. But so far right now, there's 306 cards in the game, which is a fair amount. Of course, you have the basic suits. They kind of do what you did there. And you have some others, not normal cards. And then negative cards. You get into tarot cards. Now, after so far into the run, you'll get an option to pick a tarot card. And they'll give you they'll present 3 random ones and you pick one. And they have kind of sometimes really good effects, sometimes so. I'll save that for the other video. These nothing decks. And then you have one-off cards that all do some different thing in your deck. And then there's always some fun cards that's based on stuff that some of you probably recognize. And when you do start the game, you will have, let's save and quit. We'll go to new game just to show. When you're first loading up, you'll have the first 4 decks here to choose from. Hearts, clubs, spades, diamonds. Probably recommend the hearts when you're first starting because they're going to heal you. You're going to need those. And what's nice too is you'll notice it's only the hearts, which is a small deck. It's actually a good thing. Much easier to control. When you add something, it has a much bigger impact. When you remove a card, it also has the same. And then as the last level that I showed there with the question mark, you're going to have to get all the way here. So when you make a run with the deck, then you'll be able to go to the next level and so on. And once you get to this one, then you can get to that last level and get to the final person who's running everything. It kind of seems like what you're doing in the game. But I have so far wasted a fair amount of hours on this game. I've quite enjoyed it. I do like Balatro a little more, but I think anyone who enjoys that style of game will have fun with this one. And I like the idea of your little dude going on a journey, and I'd like to see what the developers add to this. And just to finish off the video, I would love to hear what interesting fun combos you got, and I'll just go over I think my most memorable one. This was so far with the rat. Oops, let's go back to the rat deck, which is the rat deck is great. And if I could click properly, which has caused me to lose a few rounds. Okay, there we go. So rat deck, you can't even make 21 with this, but you have 2 of these cards, which cycle back a card you've already played to the bottom of your deck, which that is great. So as you play, you add cards, you add just the right numbers to get to 21, and with some padding. And then I got 4 of these cards all together, and I had a card called Scratch, I believe. And when you play that, it does, I think it's 3 damage to the opponent, but it gets +2 for the next time. So you can imagine I'm cycling it 3 or 4 times when I play, and every time it's going 3 damage, and then it goes 5 damage, and then 7 damage, and 9 damage. And then I got a card which makes you take twice as much damage, but also deal twice as much damage. So, then when you're playing an opponent, I'm doing like, first I hit him with like, I think it was like 6 damage, and then 10 damage, right? And then 14 damage. So I got to a point where I was just killing opponents where before the first hand was even over, I didn't even get to where I stand. I would just kill the opponent with scratch. So it was a little crazy, but interesting. So definitely fun. But yeah, that's the overview, and I'll come up with another video giving a little more, just a light thing of just for people who are having a hard time starting out, some strategy. I'll go over some cards and what I like to add to mine. And thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you next time. And this is a video on an online platform. I would really appreciate it. Anyone who likes and subscribes and share it, and this will help me kind of grow this little gaming journey I start into something else. Thank you.